expertise. Oh, thank you, Carmel. I totally forgot about that. Anyway, I'm not going to repeat myself. So it requires a little bit of knowledge. So this webinar is supposed to help you get acquainted with some of the basics so that you might be encouraged to continue the journey on your own. In our today's agenda, we have three very good speakers. We will start with Marta Gutierrez Benet from the European Commission, Director General for Education and Culture, to introduce you to the theoretical basics of Erasmus Plus, because there are some key terms which may sound strange if you don't know what they mean, and they are also important to understand the structure and how the program works. Without further ado, I give the floor to Marta. Marta, I think I have to make you co-host so you can share your presentation.
Yes, thank you, Florian. And thank
Which
you.
has now been done.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Just a second. Sure.
Marta, sorry if I may, just to say to everyone hello. We have also live captioning on our meeting, so you can click on the relevant button in your Zoom application to access captioning, and we will put also the link in the chat in case you want to open the captioning on a separate window. So sorry, Marta, just to say, practical issues.
No, that's very important. Thanks, Camille.
Yeah, thank you. The floor is yours.
That's super important. And please, if you can, because now that I'm sharing, I also will not be able to see you or the chat. So let me know if you are seeing well the slides. Is it okay?
We do. There is some kind of black, gray boxes here upstairs, but
now?
I mean they are not yeah, I mean we see them, but I think we see the main part of the presentations.
Is it?
Now it's getting
good,
better.
no?
Now it's better, yeah.
It's better.
Okay, perfect. It was some pop-ups that are appearing from the screen and so on, but I think now it's good. So thanks a lot, Florian and Camille, also for this invitation. And indeed, I will try to guide you a little bit through some basics, but also some specific points from the Erasmus Plus program, and in particular the Erasmus Plus program that we are having now, this period of 7 years. I know that maybe some of you are experienced already in running projects with Erasmus Plus, but perhaps also some of you that may be watching the recording later on are newcomers to the program. So I'll try to balance a little bit, and of course, do not hesitate asking anything that you would want, and especially since we are here in a smaller group, we can take a moment also to clarify anything. So what I wanted to discuss with you today, very briefly, what is the structure of the Erasmus Plus program, because it will help us also understand better where the opportunities can be found. I wanted to also make a point about the horizontal priorities of the Erasmus Plus program, and you will see that those are horizontal priorities that are also shared between the Erasmus Plus program and the European Solidarity Corps program, which I will not tackle today, but this is let's say, the other program that we also manage in our Directorate General, and that has to do a lot with similar target groups like young people and organizations in the educational field. Then a little bit also a practical explanation on what's in it for you, for what can be for your organizations as opportunities on offer by Erasmus Plus, and how you can participate in the program. So what you need to do if you have a proposal that you want to that you want to submit. And very important also, if all of this makes you really want to apply, where can you find more information about how to do it and what to expect and what are the applicable rules. After that, I hope that you are ready to apply and that we can soon see your projects being implemented. And if there is anything else that was not clear, please feel free to ask. So the very first thing that I always like explaining when presenting the program is really the very overall structure of Erasmus+. We always explain that it's a very multidisciplinary program and it's an educational program. And by that, we mean that covers different types and sectors of education, be it formal education, but also the non-formal education, and so informal learning, non-formal learning, everything that happens also outside the more formalized structures, outside the classroom. When we talk about educational sectors, we usually talk about higher education, vocational education and training, school education, adult education, youth, and sport. When we talk about youth, it doesn't mean that young people are not involved also in the other educational sectors, but we link it more to the part of non-formal education. So what is done through youth organizations, youth work, etc. And how it's all these sectors and all these target groups and so on, how do they translate into the different actions that we finance in Erasmus+? Well, very important to remember this structure of 3 key actions. Because the first one, key action 1, is where you will find all the different mobility opportunities. Mobility as in projects that allow individuals, staff, learners, apprentices, young people to go to another country abroad and have an educational experience. And here, for example, we can find from the regular Erasmus exchanges for university students to the so-called youth exchanges, where groups of young people from different countries come together, to also, for example, since last year, opportunities for sport coaches to go abroad to other grassroots organizations, sport organizations, and get more acquainted with new ways of working, new competencies, etc. So first type of action with different type of projects that we can finance, it's really around the idea of mobility abroad. So going somewhere else, getting some experience, capacities, skills, competencies, and coming back to your organization or your home institution in order to really put all the learning into practice. Key action 2 focuses more on the cooperation between organizations. It can be small, big organizations. It can be organizations of different types. So it can be educational institutions, but it can also be private companies or local, regional, national authorities. It can be any sort of organization in the wide sense. And the idea is to put them together to cooperate at transnational level. So bringing organizations from different countries to work around a given topic. Again, this type of cooperation can be a smaller cooperation or can be a very big, impactful, long-lasting cooperation. We have different type of projects on offer so that the opportunities can also fit what are the level of ambitions, what is the level of experience in the program that the partnership has. So really modular to what are the characteristics of every organization and what type of project you want to put forward. On the topics of cooperation projects, again, it's very wide, it's very flexible, always looking for a link with the educational dimension and based on a number of European priorities that are every year explained in the calls for proposals. Then if we move to key action 3, these are more specific projects that are usually also of bigger size, of longer time frame, and that are more linked to testing new policy ideas that one day can also become really the norm in policy and in policy systems, no, in also systems of education and training and youth in the different countries. So it's a sort of like experimental playground for policy development. And here, let's say that the actions are less standardized and are also more targeted every year, depending on the contextual needs. Maybe the specific calls change the priorities depending on the moment where we are living in, and so on. So these are usually projects that are centralized, and you will see later a bit the difference between who manages the different projects, but these are maybe more specific initiatives. Last but not least, we have a whole separate chapter from all the structure of 3 key actions, which is the so-called Jean Monnet chapter. And the actions under Jean Monnet are focused on learning about the European Union, fostering research about European integration, actually all over the world. And then there are different modalities of participating in these projects. In the past, it has been mostly focused on higher education, so fostering Jean Monnet chairs, centers of excellence, etc. But since 2021, it was also open up to the school, so that the primary, secondary education fields. So with the idea of starting to learn about the EU even at earlier ages at school. This is a broad picture of the structure of Erasmus+. I will not go in depth because we don't have a lot of time today about every single action on offer, but I will give you later on links to the resources where to find more information about that. And again, please, if you have questions, you have to speak, or someone please signal to me, because I cannot read at the moment the chat.
I will do it if needed.
Thanks, Camille. Thanks a lot. So having looked at how the structure looks like, well, one important element is to understand who manages this program. So who are those that are responsible for apportioning the funds, for designing the actions, etc. So of course, as you can imagine, we in the European Commission, in the EEAC, have the responsibility to design the program. We don't distribute the funds directly ourselves. We don't evaluate the proposals in the majority of the actions. We have agencies that do that for us. And of course, we involve those agencies a lot also in the feedback collection, in improving the way the actions are designed, even if we are ultimately the ones that publish the text of the call for proposals. When we talk about the agencies, we talk about 2 types of agencies implementing the program. And this is very important to understand, because every action you need to read very carefully. Where do you have to submit the application? So in some cases, you will submit your project application for certain actions in the countries where you have a national agency. But in some actions, we say that they are centralized, or they are directly managed by the so-called executive agency in Brussels, the EACCEA, the European Audiovisual and Culture Executive, the Education, Audiovisual and Culture Executive Agency in Brussels. And this is important because depending on that type of action and where you send, you will also have different application tools and forms that you will need to fill in. The Erasmus Plus National Agency, I say they are based in the participating countries, because we have 33 countries that participate fully, so in all actions of Erasmus Plus. And who are those countries? The 27 EU member states, then the so-called EFTA EEA countries, so Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. And then also 3 candidate countries for the accession to the EU, so Serbia, North Macedonia, and Turkey. So it makes 33 countries, but we have several actions in Erasmus Plus that are actually opened up to the whole world, and the modalities for participation are described also in our program guides, and also in actions that are managed by the executive agency. especially the capacity building projects or the Erasmus Mundus projects, for example, they are open up to the whole world. So for all the modalities of participation, you really need to look at the details of every action. So now I wanted to make a point on the idea of having horizontal priorities in Erasmus Plus and are also common to the European Solidarity Corps. So with the new program, which is not so new anymore, but we started in 2021 with a cycle of 7 years now for Erasmus Plus, we introduced this idea of having 4 horizontal priorities, meaning we want to see these priorities all across the program. We want every project to focus on them, no matter whether the thematic has to do with these four areas or not. You will not be surprised to hear that the first of them is really offering more inclusive and accessible programs. That means we want to foster projects that deal with inclusion and diversity, but also we want to ensure that from the design point of view, projects are also inclusive in the way they select the participants, in the way the activities are designed, that the materials are accessible, etc. And that independently from the topic of the project. The second of these priorities is making the program more environmentally sustainable and fostering also sustainable behaviors. So that has to do with fostering green traveling, because our program is very based on the idea of mobility, but also as an educational program to try to foster sustainable behaviors beyond the participation in the activities. So to learn about what it means having a more sustainable way of life during maybe some days of activities, but then to bring that back to your daily life as well. Of course, also the promotion of use of digital tools and the development of digital skills. This is very important also for daily life now, but especially also for the educational context. And this is one of the priorities as well from the program. And last but not least, we also want to enhance active participation in the program, but also in society in general. And for example, in 2024, this will be very important when it comes also to promoting active participation in the European elections and in any other democratic processes that would be upcoming. But today, and also looking at the scope of work of you, of organizations, so also link to the area of disability, independent living, etc. I wanted to give you a closer look to the priority on inclusion and diversity and what have we been doing so far in the last years in order to materialize much more the importance of this priority in the program. So as you know already, the legal base that allows us to have a program between 21 and 27 had a specific chapter talking about the inclusion and diversity dimension of the program. That means there was really a lot of importance and emphasis to this aspect in the new program. But all this was developed also through a so-called framework of inclusion measures. And I invite you, I also put the link in the references to read through the framework. It's a little bit legal document, but you will find a number of very interesting measures on how to put in practice all these ideas of making the program more inclusive and diverse. This was drafted in October 21 and with a number of general measures that cover these 7 years. But of course, all this needs to be brought also more into practice in detail. And for that, we developed a number together with all the stakeholders, the national agencies, the organizations in the field. We developed a number of guidance documents. One of them is regularly every year the program guide, but a very important document is also the inclusion and diversity strategy for the 2 programs. And again, I also invite you to read it in case you are not familiar with it. But last but not least, at the end also of this chain come the national inclusion plans for every Erasmus Plus national agency and actually also the executive agency. So this is something that we asked from every national agency, which is to look at the European framework and the European inclusion and diversity strategy, to analyze their national context, understand what are the needs of their main target groups in their country, what are the what is the context in terms of also what are the obstacles that participants face, and to put a specific plan at national level in order to address all these needs. There are a number of support mechanisms, and this is maybe a little bit more detailed information that that I wanted to bring to you as well, that it's not only, of course, about having documents, but we need also support structures to help implementing the substance of all this. So very interesting for me is that, that you get to know that there are 2 resource centers called SALTO for inclusion and diversity. We had one for youth for many years, and you may be familiar with them, but we also expanded with another education and training resource center in 2022 to also cover those fields of higher education, vocational education and training, adult education, and school education. So the 2 resource centers are working in close cooperation. They are all their activities are up and running now, and I share also with you later on the links to some useful resources on how to check or how to support you in running more inclusive projects, inspiring best practices, etc. We regularly work with national agencies to gather feedback and discuss what are possible improvements in all dimensions of the program. And we also have a cross-sectoral network of inclusion and diversity officers in all national agencies and in the executive agency. That means every national agency and the executive agency have so-called contact points that are gathering knowledge about inclusion and diversity, and that can be really either multiplying the knowledge within the national agency about the aspects to be carefully looked at, but also contact point towards the organizations that, like you, that may be running projects under Erasmus+. Last but not least, very important, events like this one, project visits, conferences, training, networkings, they are very good, of course, for you to gather information about what the program offers, but for us also to understand where are the needs, where are the areas for improvement, and how can we get better at all this. And now, to summarize, so I've explained the structure, I've explained who manages the program, what are the different priorities and areas we work on. But if you want to go practically into participating in Erasmus+, what do you have to think about? So first, I would really recommend you to read into the program guide, because there is where you have really all the eligibility criteria, all the profiles. So what type of organizations we are looking for, what type of projects we look for, how are we awarding, what are the award criteria, etc. And based on all this, you decide what is the action that suits best your project idea. You can look for inspiration to understand what are previous projects that that have had support from Erasmus+. We have a results platform that displays all the projects that have been financed, so that you maybe can think of what type of partnership you can establish, what type of activities, and so on to write your project application. But I also recommend you to really go and talk to your national agency or to the executive agency or any other office in charge of the program, so that they can also guide you. Sometimes they organize webinars, how to write the applications. They have really close support to the applicants. So it will help you in the process of putting together the application. And step 3, very, very important, write the application together with your project partners in case of actions where several partners or organizations are involved, because this is what will help you really succeed later on in the implementation. And of course, don't forget to submit your application to the relevant agency and by the deadline, very important. Now, just before we finish, I just wanted to give you some illustration of what can be project examples. So under key action 1 that I was mentioning, that you can have mobility projects, I wanted to give you just one of the many examples we have on adult learning mobility. For example, this is a project from Cyprus, and they have a project that focuses on job shadowing activities and a group mobility abroad to similar NGOs like their own one, but in another country. And they focus on the idea of upskilling, for example, and reskilling adults that have some intellectual disabilities. And they work with the group of adults, but also with the staff that works with them. And the idea at the end of the day, very linked to what you work on as well, is it's really to reinforce the independence, the employability, and the quality of living of the people in their organization, and to raise the capacities of the staff also working with them. I wanted to give you also an example on Key Action 2, which is more the partnerships. So here 2 organizations came together from Latvia and from Poland. And it was very interesting because it was a mixed group. So we always say, for example, we don't want to or you can do it in some projects, but it's also very beneficial that groups mix together people with and without disabilities, or with any other kind of circumstance that can hamper the access to the program. And in this case, the main goal was really to enable visually impaired and blind young people, to get them more aware that they can organize also and run events. And it was also, I was talking about the mixed groups, they also wanted to raise awareness about the possible prejudices and stereotypes, and understand the needs of both groups. It was only 2 examples, but you can find many more in the Erasmus Plus Project Reasons platform. And here again, I wanted you to remember that no matter the topic addressed, when we talk about inclusion and diversity, it's more also about the way the projects are designed, but the topics can be very, very wide. Here, you will get the presentation, so all the possible useful resources here, more generally on the calls, on where to find, for example, the program guide, inspiration from previous projects, the contacts of the national agencies. I've included, because as you know, we launched on the 28th of November the new Erasmus Plus call for 2024, and we drafted an article on, let's say, 5 novelties, 5 things you should know about this new call. So you have the link there so that you can read more, for example, about the boost of green travel, of the reinforcement of EU values. And last but not least, a couple of inclusion and diversity related links as well, so that you can read into the framework of inclusion measures, the inclusion and diversity strategy, and also enter the pages of the Salto resource centers to find publications, inspiration, and resources. I would leave it here. I stop sharing now so that I can see you. And I hope that was interesting and brought you some insights into and readiness to apply for your projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. Can we have the slides to distribute afterwards?
Yes. You have them already in your email. I've sent them right before the event.
Okay, and now I know that I'm allowed to share them, which
Yes.
was the important bit of information. Okay, great. We go straight away to our next speaker, Maltese Muglet, from the Malta Federation of Organizations with Persons with Disabilities. The organization, they did a study visit about personal assistance to YHD. YHD is a PA user cooperative from Slovenia, meaning if you have personal assistance through direct payments, for example, but you want support with managing this, which can be a lot of work, they help you. We selected this project because, well, a lot of ENIL members might be interested in doing something similar. So yeah, I hand over to Maltese.
Thank
Are
you.
you there, Maltese? Yes, you're there. Awesome.
Yes.
I give you the floor.
Thank you. I'll share the screen. Hold on, please. Okay. So, like we said, we're the national umbrella organization here in Malta. We have 41 NGOs enrolled. We are members of European Disability Forum, Inclusion Europe, Inclusion International, European Network for Independent Living, and the Commonwealth Disabled People's Forum, and Citizen Standard. We also represent the voices of persons with disability on relevant government structures, such as the Commission for the Rights of Persons with Disability here in Malta, and Engage and the Civil Society Committee. So yes, the National Umbrella Organization is now being considered, at least at national level, as it is, and we are being involved more than we used to be. Our aims. The aim is to be the focal point of the organizations for persons with disability, for those who work with and provide services for persons with disability, as well as for individuals who share the same objectives and aspirations of the Federation. The Federation wanted to be the focal point for everyone involved directly or indirectly, and so the difference in membership within the Federation. The work for the Federation, to work for member organizations to continue strengthen regional and national structures and their services by giving its support to initiatives for persons with disability, by increasing cooperation among organizations and spurring new initiatives where these may be lacking. So we do try, do our best to work with all NGOs involved and to make sure that the NGOs themselves network together through the national umbrella. The issues we are presently working on are the personal assistance. It's been there on top of the agenda for years now, and finally we've started going. Quality education for persons with disability, the employment of persons with disability, persons and psychosocial disabilities and financial benefits, the EU Disability Card and leisure. Furthermore, MFOPT takes up issues which rise from time to time in relation to our sector. It also tries to keep an eye open for any other funding opportunities, both at national and at the EU level, to help achieve its goals. We're a voluntary organization, and there's a limit how much we can do. So yes, sometimes we do need funding. How do we achieve our goals? So at the AGM, MFOPD's member organizations decide what they wish for the committee to work upon, and that is where the ideas come from. The executive, of course, then makes sure that whatever the members say goes, and also continue brainstorming to come up with other ideas and to realize these ideas. Personal assistance for persons with disabilities, like I said, was at the very top of MFOPD's agenda for years. To send out the message at national level, we publish press releases on the subject. We organized a national conference on personal assistance and repetitively forwarded proposals to allocate funds for PA as part of the national budget allocations, because we know that to have a good personal assistance scheme, we need funds. So apart from all that, apart from making sure that the government, and in fact, for the last two budgets, national budgets, the government allocated funding for personal assistance schemes, the Federation made another step forward. It applied for an Erasmus Plus project under the KA 1-to-1, and it's an accredited project for mobility of learners and staff education. We wanted this visit, first of all, for us ourselves to know more, but also for the person with disabilities and their personal assistants to gain from such an experience. So we knew what we wanted. We knew that there was an application, but the hardest thing for us was to fill up the application. It's not an easy application to fill up. Here in Malta, we're lucky. We have the SEM, in Maltese, it's Servizi Ewropej. F'Malta, it's European Services in Malta. Its functions are to serve as a gateway to EU funds in Malta and Gozo, making it easier for citizens and organizations to reap the benefits of EU membership through EU funding. Among others, this entity is committed to inform individuals and organizations about the latest EU funding opportunities and of the benefits of EU funds to the Maltese society. They assist in the submission of the competitive project applications and support successful applicants in implementing their projects. For us, we couldn't make it without their help because although we've been established for 53 years, unfortunately, we do not have the paid structure to commit ourselves and benefit from projects. But with their help, in a limited way, we could benefit from projects. We discussed with SCM about our ideas. They directed us to the right projects, programs. Meetings were held, we brainstormed and discussed what we wanted, and the entity channeled us to the right application, and furthermore, they helped us with the application itself. We gave them all the information, and we frequently met up to when they were drafting the application. Of course, we had to keep them always informed about the information because we knew what we wanted and we knew what we wanted, the experience we wanted for us, but not only, also for the persons with disability themselves and their PAs. We contacted Anil because the first thing, we knew what we wanted, we applied and everything, but we wanted to have the best, to get the best practice from the best service provider. And thanks to Anil, we were informed about 3 organizations, one being YHD from Slovenia. And we continued, and because we continued in contact with YHD, we chose YHD. The project started in 2023 and it should end in August 2024. In fact, we've already implemented the project. The YHD from Slovenia, it's a Slovenian NGO, offers an independent living program intended for people to live outside the institutionalized form of care to manage their lives. And this is what we wanted, because over here in Malta, at the moment, we are discussing and informing ourselves about deinstitutionalization, but not only that, we are offering personal assistance to persons with disability to be able to live an independent life. So we wanted it really badly, this thing. The way forward for the Erasmus Plus project, both organizations, us and YHD, agreed for the study visit to take place. We discussed when we wanted, when both of us wanted could involve ourselves to take place in this project. We also informed ourselves about YHD and also discussed with them our intentions, what good practices we needed from there to bring over here in Malta, because this was the first step, doing the project. The second step, we're doing it now. We're working on making things possible here in Malta, thanks to the good practices we brought with us. YHD were very, very, very helpful. They are, in our case, they are the professionals, and they did the profession. We didn't know what we wanted to learn, what we could learn, what we had to learn, but they are professional in their work. They knew what we should inform ourselves about, we should know. And they managed to draft a very, really great program, which, thanks to that, we got lots of information. And at the moment, we're discussing all the information with the minister, with the CRPD, the Commission for Persons with Disability, with all stakeholders concerned. Because the good things we learned there, we want to share it with others. This is the great thing about such programs. You share the ideas, you try to work the ideas. We are trying to work what we received there to implement them here in Malta. What, as an MFOBD, our recommendations to other organizations like us, first of all, to keep on the alert about EU funding programs. You need to know what you want, the immediate needs of your members and long-term ones, because it's not just you say, listen, I've got this, I need to do this, but what do your actual, we have 41 member organizations. What do they want? They come from all separate disabilities. You cannot focus on just as an MFOPD, as an umbrella organization. We could not, and we should not focus on just one disability. So we wanted to bring good practices so that all disabilities here in Malta will benefit from. We recommend to keep these lists at hand on black and white. Over here on our desk, we always, whenever we decide something, we have an idea, we jot it down, because it's easier to go through it and to remove and add on, and it's always there. And when the right time comes for an application, we just say, okay, that idea goes with that application, and then we make contact with SCM so that they can help us evolve our education, our application, if possible. Thank God it was always possible to do this. And then, of course, I recommend for the NGOs to go for it, because it's very, very, very beneficial. Well, whilst hoping that I hope that a lot of you are lucky like us, because without, like I said, without the government entity, SCM, to help with the applications, I don't think we would have benefit from these various projects, because this is not our first project. We do not have the staff to do this. We do not have paid staff. We do miracles, I think, but we find the right people out there. It's not easy, but yes, where there's a will, there's a way. And believe in yourselves, and believe in whatever you do, and in the people around you, in persons with disability. Those are the focal persons they are always at our center. We focus on them. I am a parent of a person with intellectual disability, so maybe it comes natural that we put them in the middle. And yes, if everybody sees these needs as not only as needs, but as rights, I think everybody would take a step further to make all possible. Thank you. And I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Mathilde, for your presentation. There will be an opportunity to ask questions soon for the participants to ask questions, and then for the speakers to answer. So, but before that, we have a second project example, so you can draw some inspiration. With us is Viera Hincopa from A Centrum. She is presenting a project about strengthening the self-advocacy of autistic people. Self-advocacy is a relevant topic for many organizations. So yeah, Viera, you have the floor.
Thank you, and thank you very much also for the invitation. So I would like to share this presentation. This project is little bit older than the first one. We have started this project in already in 1991, and its name is Key to Self-Advocacy. This was realized with the support of Erasmus Plus Key Activity 2 Partnership for Cooperation in the Field of Youth. So we were just two organizations, Czech and Slovak organization. The Czech organization is ATIP magazine. It exists about 4 years already, and also during the pandemic we tried to do a lot of work online as many others, so we also decided to run a Slovak magazine. So the partnership was somehow natural because our countries has also similar languages. We do understand each other. There are Slavic languages. So, and one of the main topics of the magazine is advocacy, self-advocacy through young autistic people. So this was also one of the needs, just to support these autistic people in their creativity and also in their skills for self-advocacy, and give them some space and opportunity to move forward, to update their skills and update their possibilities to express themselves, and for also empowerment. We saw it as important so that they can meet each other from Slovakia and from the Czech Republic, and to develop some independent group of advocates on autistic spectrum. Maybe it's to be mentioned as well that the foundation ATIP and also A Center are both autistic-led organizations. So the support was provided in 4 main areas: human rights and rights of persons with disabilities, communication skills, digital skills, and presentation skills, and also experience exchange between these two organizations. Also, of course, focused or with strong educational element. So we managed to put together 22 young people from Czech Republic and Slovakia. Already the process of managing to get them for this project was very individualized. We asked them to tell us what kind of communication tool they prefer, what way they would like to express their feelings or their questions. And so this was really like the beginning of this planning period. It has finished this year in April, so it was 18-month project, and all the graphical, all the pictures you see are also created by these young people. So we tried to learn from some experiences from the ATIP, and we created a Slovak online magazine focusing on autism spectrum and mainly on destigmatization and empowerment. Its name is No Manual. And we conducted 8-month online training with final presentations, which were held by young autistic self-advocates themselves, to external auditorium, to some experts on education, social support, and parents and others whom we invited to the last session of the training. And we also prepared and printed a magazine like in hard copy, so-called ATIP special. There were articles and interviews between participants of the training, and also developed by the participants. So they also learned during the training sessions how to conduct an interview, how to prepare some article about the field of their interest, or about some specific needs for people or of people on autistic spectrum. We really tried to use as much individual approach as possible, because for autistic people, it is sometimes difficult, like, to spend the whole day on some training. So we adapted the whole scope, the timing. I mentioned also the preferred communication platform or some tools for expression. After each training weekend, these were like weekend trainings, half a day during the morning, and after that they always received some practical task to work on some of the topics we worked about, or we discussed about. So they prepared various small videos, articles, or slides to show what they have learned, what was interesting for them, and so on. There was very important role in the project was the role of coaches. It was really like crucial to the success of the project, to successful conducting. We had like also, of course, a lot of work, the management to do the management of the project and the organization things, and the coaches were capable to take care of maybe more emotional needs or communication needs of the participants if they were losing motivation somehow, or there was some misunderstanding during the training. Then the coaches were available to talk to these young people and help them manage the situation better. Oh, I missed. There is one name. We also managed to get the mobility. It was not originally planned, because we prepared the project really like in the middle of the COVID situation. But then in 2022, there was a possibility to ask for the Visegrad Fund. And this was very helpful for us, that we managed to get money for some of them to travel to Prague to an autistic conference, also together with personal assistants, which was really inevitable to many of them, because some participants like never traveled so far before, and the assistance was really very helpful. And this was also very important for us, or it helped to increase the motivation and like new connection after the summer holidays, because this was quite a long term of the whole scope of the training, and this was very helpful when we could meet in person in September 1992, and then continue and finalize the whole project. We had another 2 sessions of the training, and this final meeting with external evaluators and external public. These are also some of the slides developed by the young people. So you can see it is their work. There are their ideas how to about communication with people, for example, or about the ableism or connection between autistic and neurotypical society. The Slovak group is realizing some actually recently some leisure time activities for other young people on the spectrum, and is preparing for more advocacy towards user organizations, for example, and to parents and professionals. We also conducted the first online Slovak Autistic Conference in March this year. This was also scheduled or with the help of the ATIP community, because they already had run fourth autistic conference in Prague. This idea is really to get represented for young people and for autistic people, because there are several conferences per year conducted by professionals, but it's very rare that the autistic people themselves could speak and present their activities or their ideas about autism and about services and things like this. The Czech group is also working with the self-advocacy group, A Community, and EUCAP, which is the European Council of Autistic Persons. And as an eye center, we also became associated partner of the EUCAP. So this gives us really like a great starting point or great starting line towards new activities like maybe Europe-wide, and to really empower these young people to bring their needs and their activities forward to get heard. So these are the links to our websites. Unfortunately, it is not in English yet, but you can like follow what we are doing there. And so this is why I am also very grateful that I could make this short presentation here. So I'm looking forward to any questions.
Hey, Vera, thank you for this very interesting presentation. And now there will be the opportunity to ask questions for our participants. The speakers can also ask questions to each other if they want to.
May I ask, Florian, just to be sure, are we doing a break now or we keep it for later?
Okay, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to do the break now, so people maybe have some time to think of questions. Okay, we're doing a 10-minute break and then we continue.
Sounds good.
Okay, who has a question to our participant?
I don't have a question, but more of a thought. I'm Suela from Albania. For those that don't know me, I run an organization of persons with disabilities. And to say the truth, I've always been interested. We have always been interested in Erasmus Plus, and I know quite some youth organizations in Albania are doing it, but we never had the courage to dig in it, to swim in it, to say the truth. And it felt kind of complicated, and it just, but it was useful, and surely it will, the discussions, the presentations surely made us more interested and aware of it.
you feel the feeling of complication has reduced a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe at INI we can do even more to support you. Let's see. But we are in a small group. I would say going around the table and everybody ask a question or make a comment. Maybe because okay, Matesa.
Well, so I understand what she's saying because yes, before we were always afraid or didn't have the courage to go for it because the application, how it is, and we're not professionals in our field. We do this on voluntary basis, and so yes, thank God that in Malta now we have this entity because without this entity, I don't think we would try again. Having said this, then when you gain a lot through these experiences. So if I were you, well, I will try it. I will, if you won't find support for someone to help you with the filling up the application, I would go to the agency involved and see whether they can help you in another way. Try a small project, and then little by little, you'll go to greater ones. And I wish you success.
And by the way, your model, the exchange of to see the personal assistant being applied in other countries, I think that would be very interesting.
Yes, we went to see what is happening in Slovenia, and we brought the good practices. At the moment here in Malta, we're doing the reform on personal assistance. At the same time, as a federation, we applied for national funding and we did a research on personal assistance. So everything is coming together so that now hopefully we'll have a very good reform with the experience we had with the research. And we are at the moment working on a reform here in Malta on personal assistance, hopefully for all persons with disability to have a better life, an independent one.
Maybe to both speakers who presented project examples. After these experiences, are you going to continue working with Erasmus Plus? Are you planning more projects at the moment?
Yes, I've already got someone in my mind. Because over here, people with disability lack leisure. And so the next step will be on leisure. It's still here. We haven't yet discussed it with the entity concerned to see under which application it comes. But because it's something personal assistant now, your life is not just independent living, but then leisure. So I think our next step will be leisure.
Well, this is encouraging. Obviously, you are not deterred from your experience.
Yes.
It's good. Yeah, Vera?
Yes, we also plan to continue. Already this group of self-advocates, they participate in European Solidarity Corps project. We have managed to focus, as I said, to some leisure time activities for another young children with autism. And also we are planning to prepare this youth participation activity probably on February, because I would really like to bring the idea of the self-advocacy or of the disability rights advocacy to youth organizations, as I mentioned, because we have national-wide youth organizations and they talk about inclusion, but I think they don't have quite direct experience. And particularly the people with autism are somehow always like falling away from all schemes or things like this, because they have very special conditions. For example, also this personal assistance is not so so much available for people with autism, and it could be very supportive for them to live more independent life, like, you know, because they really couldn't travel without some assistance, for example, and it's only based on the family and so on. So this should be like communicated, and also we had these new parliamentary elections this autumn. So I believe we can also bring some ideas with these young people to new parliament and to new deputies this way. So well, there was the main partner was from the Czech Republic, so they communicated with the agency and they prepared in coordination with us the whole proposal, of course. So, but we also have the agency in Slovakia, and they also prepare several trainings for how to prepare this application. So it is very useful. And of course, the same situation is that we don't have so much capacities for the management of the project. We don't have like full-time person in our organization, but yeah, it is possible to run the project and to get involved. And there will be another level to if we want to go for bigger partnership, we need of course more partners. So then these language issues will come up as well, you know, but it should be in English or so. So this was very useful that the small partnership was in quite similar languages, and it was possible to do it so that everyone understood. Yeah.
Okay. Nina has a question. Nina's motivated.
Thank you, Florian. I am Lina Portolan. I come from Belgrade, Serbia, and I am part of the European Youth Network Board. I have a question. I have a question for everyone, but specifically for our first speaker, Marta Gutierrez-Bennett, and I would like to hear your opinion on something I personally experienced. I did European Solidarity Corps volunteering in 2020. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I did my entire volunteering engagement remotely, but one of the main issues I faced back then and have also faced since is with national agencies. Namely, oftentimes, even before when I was younger, before 2020, I faced that employees of national agencies are not familiar with supports for disabled applicants. So when I first inquired about Erasmus Plus projects for myself when I was in secondary school, I was told, no, we cannot accept you. And then several times after then, I find that when there is an open call, for example, on Salto Youth or somewhere similar, that says that Serbia is one of the countries that can apply, and I try to apply, but need the support of the national agency to do so. Again, from the national agency, they do not want to support, and they do not know how to support disabled applicants. So their solution for this issue is to just say, no, we won't do it. Do you have any advice how we can approach agencies in a different way so they don't limit disabled applicants simply due to the lack of their own competencies to support?
An excellent question.
Yes, thanks, Nina. And I think, I mean, of course, I cannot speak for everyone, and I'm not doubting that you have experienced difficulties. But what I know is that what I was mentioning earlier on, that for us it's important to build the capacities in the national agencies, goes along those lines, because we know that some years ago, maybe there was not so much specific expertise, so it was never, how to say, bad intention, but we always say, and we have seen it in ourselves as well, it's a learning process to understand the needs and understand what are the mechanisms and the instruments that we have in order to facilitate the access. So this I'm sure it's not that anyone had like a bad intention to block
sure
any
not, but I am
participant.
frustrated slightly because
But
it keeps happening even now.
But I think it's improving. It's not a super fast process. I think that the fact that we have mobilized inclusion officers in every national agency. So, for example, I know that along the last years, the Serbian National Agency, that is, by the way, one of the newest national agencies because it was the last one to be established. They have by now a national inclusion strategy for Erasmus Plus and Solidarity Corps. So it means they had to look at the European framework and say, okay, how does this represent to us? So for example, they will have specific elements that refer to people with disabilities. They have now an inclusion officer. So normally this person would be more approachable and more capable of helping in such circumstances. And if they don't know how to process, how to work in a given moment, what they normally know that they can do is they can contact the specific Salto, or they can contact other inclusion officers in other national agencies, or us, obviously. So what I see is more communication and more like support between agencies also in finding solutions. Then I know that what is a bit difficult for some staff working in the agencies is to know exactly how the national systems or support systems work, because that's not usually so related to Erasmus Plus, but actually to how the national context is structured in terms of the national funding or the national regulation, for example, of paying personal assistance, or how the mobility of those contracts is enabled, and so on. So they have also to look for this sort of answers when the specific question comes. So yeah, so I think it's work in progress, and we are helping them to get into that. I know that COVID was a difficult moment because, of course, the system was not designed to have such situation. So when it came very abruptly, what we tried is to make the program, as you say, react as flexibly as possible with the means we had in place, not to lose the opportunity to still have projects, but it was a little bit complicated, of course, like I think everything around COVID.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to hear that there is some progress on how they're approaching. And luckily, I think those of us who are already empowered in our rights can maybe even help when communicating with national agencies to give them the information how to proceed best.
It's important that you tell us the things, because I mean, when I say we are slowly improving and so on, it also means we are obviously not there yet with 100% of the solution. So it's important that you tell us where you face the specific problems, so that then we can also turn back to them and say, okay, how can we help, or what else do you need, or things like that.
Thank you very much for replying.
I would actually like to ask a follow-up question on this. What if, despite all the good intentions and the will to improve, what if you feel that your application is not treated fairly, or you are rejected because you have too many special needs indicated? Is it possible to complain somewhere? This question goes to Marta.
Okay. Yes, I was wondering if it goes to me. So, for example, we are not the ones selecting individually the participants. So normally when we talk about selection of individuals to participate in an activity, it means normally that either you are a student and you apply for a mobility to your university, or you are a young person that wants to participate in a youth exchange. So you would apply to the youth organization organizing the exchange. I'm saying that because it has to do with the mechanisms that for complaint. So normally the rules say, organizations have to ensure fair and transparent criteria for selecting their participants. And for example, a disability cannot be an obstacle to participate. So if you want to participate in one of these activities, you participate in the selection process and you feel that there has been something not correct, for example, that you should have been you believe you should have been selected, but because you said that you have some mobility requirements or some specific accompaniment requirements, you were not selected. You can, first thing you would do is to complain or to contact your national agency and say, look, this beneficiary of yours, we think they have not acted correctly in the selection of participants. And then the national agency, what they will do is they will investigate the case. So they will at least put questions to the organization, ask them to describe the selection procedure and understand the case. At the end of the day, if that's also not satisfactory, you can also contact us as commission. But then we will always enter in a conversation with the organization and with the national agency. So yes, it's a sort of cascade, but we do look at those things. And sometimes we have fair complaints where we say, look, organization, you should have put in place some additional means, because we give you also possibilities for additional funding if you have extra cost and things like that. Sometimes it's true that, I mean, we have also seen the situation where it was not maybe exactly, I mean, the organization had correctly selected the participants and simply the profile, it was not linked to the disability or to the specific condition. It was just not the right profile for that particular activity. But yeah, so this is how it usually works.
Maybe to ask Maltese and Viera, did you, for your projects, request additional funding to bring disabled participants along? And how did the work with the national agencies go? If yes.
Yes, we did. We did apply because we had 2 persons with intellectual disabilities within this group. And yes, we've got good relationship with our agency. We've been we've been working with them for quite some years now. To tell you the truth, they started understanding disability since we started applying for projects, because we cover various disabilities, and for us it wasn't a problem.
Okay, that's good. So it might also depend a bit on the country.
Yes, it depends on the country and also on the persons who are, because they might change, and maybe if today's people change, maybe we'll find difficulties afterwards. It depends upon the people who are there.
I wanted to ask you as well, maybe trying to understand if you make use of so not only the specific funding, so like the extra support, but have you benefited also from the new inclusion support from organizations? So the extra funding that goes on top of the organizational support. Did you find it useful as organization to deal with it?
All we required was the additional support, the additional costs for the personal assistance. You know, so in a way, it wasn't that we were 100% covered, but at least we did manage the budget. What I wanted to ask was, because you were saying about also the choice of participants, we are finding problem, but with EU regulations with regards youths. Youths, they are 16 to 18, 16 to 30 years old. But persons with intellectual disability, when they are 30 years old, maybe they start to try to understand what 20-year-olds start. So they are losing a lot. at least here in Malta, they're losing a lot of opportunities, also at national level, because youths, if we're going to continue, of course, youths until 30, but if no one is realizing that we are excluding 30-year-olds, 35-year-olds who understand, start to understand, and start to talk in the language of youths, but because then they are over 30, they're not allowed, they're not asked to give their feedback, to involve themselves in EU projects as youths, you know, because they can take part in EU projects, but youth exchanges, they cannot, some of them. So I think there is a gap, I mean, over there, which someone should consider tackling it.
I mean, on that, I would say could make two comments. One, of course, at the moment, there are opportunities are not only for youth. So you could also go for an adult education project that allows you to do similar activities or even partnerships for cooperation in the field of adult education without having to look at the age range, in the sense that, of course, if they are all sort of adult, which includes young adults. So you can have young people as of 18 together with those over 30. At the same time, I mean, all these recommendations that you are having, think about the fact also that now let's say the open consultation for Erasmus Plus is open. And I don't know if some of you have maybe thought of submitting some recommendations or position paper and so on. Because that helps us also understanding how to improve in the future the program. So that's the type of things that then when we will be changing the rules of the program together with the Parliament and the Council, to say, does it make sense that there are some exceptions when it comes to people with disabilities? Then others maybe will say, well, it's better because they have also possibility to participate through adult education. We have a lifelong learning approach, but I understand that maybe you want to put together the group of youngsters with, I mean, the below 18 with those over 30. So it's very interesting. I don't have like the final answer. I just want to highlight the opportunities that you have now so that you don't feel doors are closed to engage them. But at the same time, that it's a fair discussion to have. And I understand it as well because, for example, in under Key Action 1, we have Discover You, that it's gives opportunities for 18-year-old to travel around Europe with travel ticket. But in the particular inclusion part, we have some exceptions to the age range, understanding that, okay, maybe for some target groups, including people with disabilities and so on, limiting it only to exactly 18 may be a bit complicated because there may be other things happening in parallel while they are turning 18. So we are more flexible with that target group than maybe the general applicants. So these sort of exceptions are also done.
That's good. This is also, I have to admit, something I had not thought of before, that there might be a need for an exception. And correct me if I'm wrong, KA1 mobilities for adult education learners are still not possible, right?
Yes. This
Is this possible?
2021, yeah.
Okay.
And this is why I actually included in my presentation, the first example that I provided is from adult education, and it includes group learners mobility and staff mobility, precisely to show that you can actually make the learners themselves mobile with the new program. And I think this is a very interesting opportunity for you in your organizations.
This might, certainly be a solution. Kamil is raising the hand. Please, Kamil.
Yeah, thank you, Florian. And thank you, everyone, for the very interesting discussion. And I mean, there is a lot of things to discuss here. I will try to be fast. I think we are slightly delayed. I have One is one comment to what Marta was discussing now about exceptions, which is, in that case, it was a very good case. I mean, I was part of the EU stakeholders group on Discovery EU. So we were shaping together with the DGI and other stakeholders how we want to do it and, what is needed for disabled people. So there was discussion about personal assistant to be included and other stuff. So, I mean, it was not my personal request, but someone said that it would be good also to raise the age of people because, there's some other discrimination and stuff that disabled youngsters might face. So it's good it's there. I was thinking about the exceptions though, that sometimes it might be a little bit dangerous in the aspect that, for example, we hear sometimes, oh, a project is not accessible, it's very costly to make it accessible and to bring you and your assistant to another country to do the mobility. So we do an exception for you and you participate online, which in that case you are kind of discriminated and you are forced to follow. No, you are not able to participate in an equal way with your other peers, the non-disabled one, because of the disability you are, for example, online. So we need to make sure that the exceptions are. I mean, I know it. It's not anything to you or something. It's just a discussion here to say that we need to be careful with exceptions to make sure that they are not excluding people or in the matter of exception we put things in place which are not inclusive. So that was
very good that you mentioned, Camille, because we try to repeat also many times, and especially when we talk about digital opportunities, to explain, look, it's important that we reinforce the digital priority and so on. But for us, it should never be about saying, oh, okay, if you cannot go on physical mobility, we just put you a fully virtual and that's it. So it's more like, let's put all possible support measures so that the physical mobility can happen, and virtual can be a complement, but not really. That's an example, just. But I fully agree with you.
Yeah, and thank you. And I mean, I know that you are trying and you're doing a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of work of your department also with EDF and Erasmus, inclusive Erasmus, and all this stuff. But sometimes we hear that different examples, so it's good to bring them. And the other question I had is, when you were doing your presentation, you mentioned two good examples, and the first one was about. I mean, I don't remember exactly now, but it was something about community homes for people with intellectual impairment and stuff. So at the NIL, when we hear community houses and stuff, we directly think that this might be institutions or something. So I wanted to ask whether when the commission is giving funding for Erasmus and a supporting project, when you do a check or you have a mechanism to see whether these projects are, for example, in line with the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, or whether they are promoting inclusion in the community, or they are, maybe a segregating facility. For example, when I did my EVS back in 2015, we had EVSs who were working in special schools or in institutions, and this was considered a good thing. But in fact, it was against, the convention. So, I mean, probably now it's more stricter, but it's good, I wanted to see if you have any, mechanism to monitor this kind of stuff and double check whether a project is eligible in that aspect.
I'm how to say, I'm less expert on that, but I'm familiar with the discussion, especially because of the work we do with the colleagues in DG employment, and this is also how we started collaborating more and more on all the European legislation, also bringing students from Erasmus Plus into the different conferences on the day of people with disabilities and so on. So I'm not aware of specific checks, but I'm aware of the discussions about being careful how organizations run projects. I thought myself about it when I checked the project, but it's true that it was, and if you look at the project card, it was very, very interesting because it was more about really enhancing the skills and the independence of people with disabilities. So in that way, I think it was a very good project example. Now you are the biggest experts on that. For us, it's categorized as a good practice in the project, and it was very focused in empowering the individuals to actually go abroad and developed their self-esteem, their capacities to increase their employability, to really help each other and to be real actors of their own own change. So for me, it really looked at as a good practice to showcase there. And what I liked a lot about the project as well is that it was not only the staff of the organizations going abroad and learning the practices, but it was a combination of the mobility of the staff of the organization plus the group of 10 of those adult learners with disabilities that were going abroad so that they can experience and bring back and continue the learning. So tell me if you don't think it's it's something we should promote, but I found it as a good way to explain, knowing that also adult learner mobility is something that, as you were asking earlier on, we reintroduced in 2021. There is considerable budget available, and not always the take up in all the countries is as good as we would want. So I think there is where you have plenty of opportunities also to succeed with good applications. So take it, consider it. Also the, let's say, the more like non-formal education part of it. So not only the formal, more like straightforward learning.
No, thank you, thank you. And I mean, just to be clear, I don't know this project, so I don't know whether it's good or not, you know. Probably it's good, as you said, and you checked it. And it's not fair from my side to say this is against, well, and it violates, I don't know, the CRPD or anything. I just wanted mostly, you know, inspired from this example, which potentially might have some issues, or I mean, probably not, but you never know. Just, you know, from the phrasing of the title in the slide. That's why I was thinking that the question was about, you know, whether, you know, there is some mechanism to monitor generally the product, not especially this one. This might be excellent, I don't know. And probably it is, since you know it better than me. And I think one solution to that is, you know, when it depends on the nature of the project, when you are whoever is deciding, I guess it's also the NAs, of course, but whoever is taking the decision for the funding, you know, it's good to communicate the relevant, I don't know, organizations and to say, hey guys, we got this application. You know more than us on this aspect. What do you think? Is this should we support it financially? If it's about a Roma community, you would contact a Roma organization. If it's about, I don't know, LGBTQI community, you would contact Igli or someone else. And, you know, in that case, there would be like a community of, how to say, community of partners to the commission or to the NAs, if it's a national thing, that could support, you know, the monitoring and not decide together, because we are not giving the money, it's you, so you should have the final word. But, you know, to support in the decision and giving kind of expertise and sharing, you know, our views. I don't know if this is feasible or not, but I was thinking maybe it's a solution to gather like kind of a pool, you know, of experts or communities that could support us in some decision making, even though it's probably difficult practically.
No, I think in substance, how to say, this is what we try to do in terms of capacity building and the selection of expert evaluators. Because, of course, from the legal point of view, what is not possible is just to go outside the formal evaluation system and ask just whoever what do they think about something that has been formally submitted. But what we try to do is, in the preparation of the national agencies and guiding them on how to also select their experts, because there are many thousands of projects, so they have their own pool of expert evaluators. So we always recommend, please involve also experts from the different areas. So in the case, for example, of fewer opportunities in general, inclusion and diversity, to include also people that have this expertise and that are going to go through the projects, so that they can count on some people to always turn to when they would have this sort of questions. But also the other way to work with it is to pass on specific information to the national agencies. It doesn't need to be linked to a specific project, but in general, if you say, okay, look at these things, or through the Salto, keep in mind these things when looking at project applications, have the reflex to check this. So this can be included in the training to national agencies and experts.
Maybe Kamil and I will apply to become experts evaluators. Kamil, you wanted to say a few things also about the European Solidarity Corps. How?
Yeah.
The potential.
I will be quick. Thank you, Florian. I mean, you will be a good expert, excellent expert, and I'm sure the project will be.
Solidarity Corps.
No, but coming to I was meant to speak a little bit about how we at the NIL and not potentially for sure, other organizations as well use Erasmus Plus, and especially European Solidarity Corps in that case, even though we sometimes use other possibilities as well, to advance the independent living movement and to bring new activists to the movement, to engage people, to do some capacity building. And this we do through the European Solidarity Corps. When we bring young disabled people every year, we try to do that. I mean, with COVID, it was a bit more painful, but we did quite well. We bring them to Brussels to work with us. At the moment, we have Fionn, a very nice and active guy with intellectual impairment from Ireland, who is with us for 6 months in the Brussels office. And in the beginning of New Year, I think in March, we will welcome more volunteers. And throughout the years, we had volunteers of different impairments, from physical to blindness to intellectual impairment and others as well. So we try, to have a diverse selection process and to give the opportunity to as many young people as possible to come to Brussels to work with us, to interact with the different EU bodies and, not only from disability community, which is of course the main aspect, like, our events and this kind of stuff, but also the EU bubble, as we say, and EU institutions, the Commission. They came to learn from Salto, from DGI, from various aspects. They participate in European Parliament events. They have this opportunity to see, what it means advocacy, what are we fighting for all this time. They stay with us, they work with us, they support us to do some of our tasks. Like, they help us with stuff, if we have a big conference or with papers, depends on the abilities and the interest of every volunteer, because we adapt to that. We don't have the time, and this is not a webinar to analyze how we do these projects in practical terms. Whether, how we book the assistance or stuff. But just to say that Erasmus, we will probably have a webinar maybe next year at some point. We discuss it with Florian to go deeper into European Solidarity Corps. But here it was mostly to say that thanks to Erasmus Plus, which is, one of the most important programs at the moment in the continent, and we need to acknowledge that, and it changed the life of many people, young people, and even not only young. We had the opportunity to bring young disabled people to Brussels, which is not an accessible city, but thanks to the project, we get additional funding for personal assistance, for assistive devices, for transport, or whatever is needed, with some limitations and some, you need a lot of programming and stuff, but it's definitely possible. And this gave us opportunity to make new people, new active people in the movement. I myself started thanks to Erasmus, and the fact that I'm talking with you today, and the fact that I'm talking with you from New York even now, because I'm for a meeting in New York, is because, at some point I did an Erasmus a few years ago. I volunteered 6 months in Belgium I learned the movement, I connected to the movement. And then, I found a job in an organization which is based in Brussels. And the one brought the other one. And, then you got invitations to meeting and you go to conferences and stuff like that. And, you can support your family and develop yourself and interact with communities and bodies and everything, and even influence policies. So, and I'm just an example here, but Nina is another example which was benefited and has benefited from the project. We know other people who came to Brussels and continue staying in Brussels and working for other organizations, not necessarily disability related, but they continue their careers, and so yeah, there's a very big potential here. And from our side, we try to use as much as possible Erasmus to, to bring more people to the movement, to connect them with the movement with various ways. And in that case, it was a solidarity call. And I think, yeah, this is a very good case. But I am aware of time, so I don't want to go to many more details now. I don't know, Florian, if you wanted me to ask to elaborate on something more, or if you want to add something. And of course,
No, from the top of my head, no. I think this is a good overview.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't have the practical details because we leave it for a future to dedicate, especially a call for practical how you do it and what you need to be aware, what are the challenges, because there are challenges and it's not easy. And unfortunately, many organizations don't do it because of the challenges, but we managed to do it, and I think we are proud of that. And it's a good example. Sorry, Florian. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is interesting. Job shadowings are possible too under Erasmus plus adult education. So we could also bring in people from some of our members, from Malta, for example, to work with us for a little bit. Yeah, maybe let us very briefly. It doesn't make a lot of sense. We're almost out of participants, but very briefly about when it comes to project ideas. Nina or Akrivi, do you have any project topics in mind? Countries where you would like to go? Any spontaneous inspirations, what you might be wanting to do with Erasmus Plus, we would like to share.
Let's see if there's anyone who wants to say something.
No.
I know Nina, I see Nina unmuted, and I know Nina has always many ideas.
Yeah,
I don't know
I'm
if
unmuted, but unfortunately this time only to say I can't think of something off the top of my head right now.
No, that's fine.
Me and you spoke recently about projects, but they don't fit right now into the Erasmus Plus framework, so I'm not sure.
No, but maybe I can add very quickly because Nina is member of our youth board. That sometimes we have this discussion: how could our youth board benefit, for example, from Erasmus or other funding streams? To strengthen more its activities. I don't know, to do an event for Erasmus youth or stuff like that. So we are tracking and following to see how it's possible to do it to bring more young disabled people together through Erasmus, maybe do an activity for them together. And yeah, we will come with something, I think, in the future.
Yeah, we could organize a summer camp.
Yeah, summer camps are very good, actually.
Summer camp. Like the crib camps, the documentary.
Maybe what can be very interesting as well, if I may, because we hear also in the different Salto Youth Inclusion, for example, organizes this very interesting inclusion forum, usually once a year or so. And what we see is also the growing appetite, but also like responsibility of organizations that are not necessarily by design working on inclusion and diversity topics, but that are getting more and more in the consciousness that they need to also take this into account. And perhaps it would be very beneficial to have also mixed groups where you say, okay, maybe your organizations can create projects together with groups of young people, not necessarily with disabilities, so that we can build also on the multiplier effect to say, okay, we give also more sense of how diverse the society is, but also we help people being more aware of what are the needs, what are the obstacles that can appear, and also to normalize the reality of society. So perhaps that can also be very, very beneficial, and will expand you also the wide of partners that you can find for maybe different type of projects, or think about thematics like sustainability or digitalization or any of the other educational priorities that you have, and see how you can bring also the perspective of what can be your needs in relation to that. And I don't know, just thinking out loud, it can be a very nice educational process by which different groups of young people will at the end perhaps come to the conclusion that with or without disability, the needs towards that may be very similar, and that you can just work in diverse ways to reach common objectives. Just a bit talking out loud, but I think there are really a lot of opportunities to work. Even the summer camp could be a very nice idea like this as well.
Yes. No, definitely there are opportunities, and we use Erasmus Plus to some extent, and I think we have the potential to use it even more. There is even more space for young people and for our community in general. As we saw, from the examples today with Malta and Slovakia, this project can really be influencing very many things. And, thanks to Erasmus, for example, now in Malta, they have, they got a lot of knowledge from Slovenia, and, they partnered together, and this might change the life of a lot of disabled people in Malta in the future. So it seems like you do a small meeting, but in the future, it's like a domino. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I actually happen to have a half-finished application for a Key A2 project on civic education in my drawer. Perhaps this webinar will give me the motivation to finish and submit it sometime. If there are no more questions, remarks, are there any last questions, remarks? Something somebody would like to get off the chest?
Just that if you are thinking about civic education, remember also that we don't only have, for example, a Salto Resource Center on inclusion, but we actually have now in place centers also for participation and democratic engagement, for green transition, for digital. So you can also think about saying, okay, look for the resources that they put in place for this particular topic of civic engagement, citizenship education, and so on. So just to go out of only the resources specifically linked to inclusion and diversity, because they will also have resources also looking at the inclusion perspective, but from other angles that may help you.
Yeah, thank you. I had not fully registered this. So much has changed with the new funding period. Yeah. Okay. There seems to be no more remarks or comments. So let's proceed to the wrap up. Well, we thank all the speakers and the participants for joining us today. We will publish the recording on YouTube, where we will certainly find many more viewers, so we can also have a bit of more multiplier effect, so that many more people might draw inspiration to have some projects themselves. Yeah. Again, thank you very much, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
I will stop the recording now.